Today, we're going to look at Chapter 12. Chapter 12 illustrates how companies can use a performance management system, which is called a balanced scorecard. This goes along with what we looked at last week in order to track non-financial measures, such as the tons of food wasted, and link improvements in those measures to results that would be valued by stakeholders, such as higher profits, increased charitable giving, and those sorts of things. So let me go ahead and share the screen with you. So Chapter 12, Strategic Performance Management. Okay, so a balanced scorecard, a little bit of an overview. A company's balanced scorecard must emanate from its vision and strategy. Remember that a strategy is a game plan that enables a company to attract customers by distinguishing itself from competitors. These are more formally called customer value propositions and are the essence of strategy. Performance measures included in a balanced scorecard usually fall into four categories, and they are learning and growth, internal business processes, customer, and financial. And so we're going to look at some examples of performance measures that would be appropriate for each of those four different areas. And so again, management translates its strategy into performance measures that employees understand and influence. These measures include financial performance, customer value, business process management, and learning and growth measures. The premise of these four groups of measures is that learning is necessary to improve internal business process, which in turn improves the level of customer satisfaction, which in turn improves financial results. Now, note that the emphasis on improvement is on improvement, not just on attaining specific objectives, but we always want to improve things within the organization. The balanced scorecard relies on non-financial measures in addition to financial measures for two reasons. Financial measures are lag indicators that summarize the results of past actions. Non-financial measures are leading indicators of future financial performance. And top managers are ordinarily responsible for financial performance measures, not lower level managers. Non-financial measures are more likely to be understood and to be controlled by lower level managers. So we'll take a look specifically at learning and growth. Learning and growth measures that organizations might include in their balanced scorecards are organized under six categories that influence employee learning and growth. So these areas would include recruiting, skills development, compensation, advancement, wellness or safety, job satisfaction, and retention. And these are shown here on the screen, some different areas. Each measure should influence other measures within the scorecard. So, example, a company may hypothesize that increasing its average training hours per employee would lead to process improvements such as fewer errors. Or it may hypothesize that lowering its employee turnover percentage will lead to greater loyalty for its customers. So again, different areas that we might have within learning and growth. Some of the things might be within recruiting is the percentage of outstanding interview candidates that accept the job offer, or recruiting and also the recruiting expenditures per hired employee. Also skills development, the percentage of employees that strongly agree with a statement, I am constantly given the resources that I need to do my job. The average mentorship hours per employee, the average number of training hours per employee. And in areas within compensation might include the percentage of leadership positions that were filled with internal candidates, the percentage of workforce that was promoted within the last 3 years, or the average pay raise percentage per example per employee. These are just some examples of measures that an organization might have within learning and growth. Effective managers understand that business processes rather than functional departments serve the needs of employees. Okay, so actually there's some more here also in some different areas, more examples. But effective managers understand that business processes rather than functional departments serve the needs of the company's most important stakeholders, which are its customers. A business process is a series of steps that are followed in order to carry out tasks in the business. And again, the exhibit shows 18 examples. We're going through 18 different examples of internal business process measures that organizations might include in a balanced scorecard. The measures are organized under 6 dimensions: innovation, product and service, quality, agility, cost, time, and lean resource management, which we talked about previously. And then we'll look at some more. So again, some more areas that we might look at might be wellness and safety, which is the absenteeism rate or the number of employee accidents per employee. Under job satisfaction, we might want to look at the percentage of employees that would agree with this is a great place to work, the number of employees that would agree with the statement, my contribution to the company is recognized and respected by my coworkers, and the number of process improvements suggested per employee. And again, under retention, we might have an area of our balanced scorecard looking at employee turnover percentage or the average years of tenure per employee. And then again, we have some different areas here looking at, again, innovation, so internal measures, what some of them are. And we'll look at these in a minute. I think they have these kind of out of order. So again, for under the area of innovation, product and service quality, agility, cost, time, and lean resource management. Again, different areas we might look at for a balanced scorecard might be the number of new products that were designed, the number of patents that were approved, the percentage of previously designed parts used in new products. Those would be under innovation type measures. Product and service quality might be the number of warranty claims, the defect-free units is a percentage of completed units, and then the percentage of customer complaints that were settled upon the first contact. Agility would be the number of modular products that were designed, the percentage of suppliers with long-term contracts, the average batch size. Under cost would be the cost of quality, non-value added activity costs, and then lost sales due to out-of-stock merchandise. And then time would be the delivery cycle time, throughput, manufacturing time, manufacturing cycle efficiency. And then again, under lean resource management, we might look at overall equipment effectiveness, work in progress inventory as a percentage of sales, and then workstation cleanliness. Now, if a company improves its learning and growth and internal process measures, these improvements must ultimately have a positive influence on its customer measures. If not, it suggests the company does not have a complete understanding of the performance attributes that are shaping its customer perceptions and behaviors. And again, these are some different areas within dealing with customers. And the measures are organized under 6 headings, and those headings are customer satisfaction, customer acquisition and retention, customer lifetime value, customer loyalty, customer service, and customer value proposition. So again, different areas that might fall under here is under customer satisfaction, might be the percentage of customers that strongly agree with the statement that I would readily recommend your company to someone else, the number of customer referrals, those would all be measures of customer satisfaction. Customer acquisition or retention would be the market share percentage, the customer defection rate, the average customer acquisition cost, or the percentage of customer leads that would generate a sale. Customer lifetime value would be the average revenue per order, the average gross margin per order, the average time between purchases. Customer loyalty, the percentage of customers' overall spending committed to our company, or the share of wallet. The number of collaborative customer-driven product innovations. And in customer service, the percentage of customers that would strongly agree with the statement, my order was delivered on time, my problem was resolved quickly, your website was easy to use, your employees treated me courteously. And then customer value proposition, again, examples might include customer perception of our product leadership, customer perception of our operational excellence, customer perception of our customer intimacy. And then again, different areas looking at this shown here are 20 examples of financial measures that fall under 6 headings: sales, profits, profitability ratios, trend performance, cash flows, and market performance. And again, different areas here would be sales from new customers, sales from products that were less than 3 years old, patent protected sales, profitability ratios, looking at gross margin percentage, net profit margin percentage, return on assets, return on equity. Areas looking at cash flows might be the net cash flow from operating activities, the net cash flow from operating activities divided by the average operating assets, and then the net cash flow from operating activities over sales. Profits would be the contribution margin, the net operating income, and residual income. Trend performance would be the sales growth rate, contribution margin growth rate, net operating income growth rate, net cash flow from operating activities growth rate. And then market performance would be stock price, earnings per share, and then earnings price earnings ratio. Now, the performance-oriented measures do not automatically lead to financial success. The scorecard includes a financial perspective for the express purpose of holding organizations accountable for translating performance in non-financial performance to bottom line performance. So again, what's happening in areas, the non-financial areas, eventually will lead to success in the financial areas. Okay, so now looking at the cost of quality and going a little bit more into those areas. So costs incurred, so quality costs are costs that were incurred to prevent defects or that result from defects in products. Many companies are working hard to reduce their quality costs. These companies that are succeeding have a high quality of conformance in the sense that the overwhelming majority of the products that they produce conform to design specifications and are free of defects. And there are 4 broad categories of quality costs. And so we have prevention costs. Those are costs that were incurred to support activities whose purpose is to reduce the number of defects. We need to, obviously that's something that a company they're worried about, is they want to reduce the number of defects in their products. So, for example, suppose that an ice cream company had been having problems with unpleasant, gritty ice crystals in their ice cream. And so we have to think about what, obviously, they would want to prevent those ice crystals from forming. And so one approach might be to investigate the manufacturing process. Perhaps the gritty ice crystals are caused by temperature variations in the freezer. Controlled experiments could be run varying the temperature and inspecting for ice crystals. If this is the cause, the variation in temperature could be decreased, or the ingredients might need to be changed so that they would be less sensitive to temperature changes. Another cost that we need to look at might be appraisal costs, costs that were incurred in identifying defective products before the products were shipped to customers. And again, thinking about this ice cream example, we have to think about how we would inspect out the ice crystal problem. And this may be more difficult and expensive than it first appears. For example, the problem could occur only in half-gallon containers or at random in a small but important number of containers, or the ice crystals could only be detected by tasting ice cream near the bottom of the container. Inspecting out the problem could make a lot of ice cream unsaleable. Now, internal failure costs would be costs that were incurred as a result of identifying defects before they get shipped to customers. And then external failure costs are the costs that were incurred as a result of defective products that were being delivered to customers. And again, thinking about our ice cream example, we have to think about some examples of internal and external failures. Internal failure costs could result from throwing away defective ice cream. External failure costs would result from customers returning defective ice cream or failing to purchase the ice cream company's products at a later date. And then again, some different examples of each one of these different types of quality cost include. So again, prevention costs might include quality training, quality circles, statistical process control activities. Different appraisal costs might be testing and inspection of incoming materials, the final product testing, depreciation of the testing equipment. Internal failure costs might include scrap, spoilage, and rework. External failure costs would include the cost of field servicing and handling of customer complaints, warranty repairs, lost sales arising from reputation for poor quality. Quality cost report. This report details the prevention, appraisal, internal failure, and external failure costs that arise from a customer's current quality control efforts. When interpreting a cost quality report, managers should look for two trends. First, increases in prevention and appraisal costs should be more than offset by decreases in internal and external failure costs. Second, the total quality costs as a percentage of sales should decrease. The use of quality cost information. It helps managers to see the financial significance of defects. It helps managers identify the relative importance of the quality problems faced by the company. And it helps managers to see whether their quality costs are poorly distributed. In general, costs should be distributed more towards the prevention and to a lesser extent, the appraisal and then towards failure. So we want to catch it in the prevention and appraisal phase before we actually catch it in looking at the actual failures. But some limitations on quality cost information. Simply measuring and reporting quality cost problems does not solve quality problems. Results generally lag behind quality improvement programs. Initially, prevention and appraisal cost increase may not be offset by decreases in failure costs. And the most important quality cost, lost sales arising from customer ill will, is often omitted from quality cost reports because that would be difficult to estimate. And so again, looking at calculating throughput, which is the manufacturing cycle time, delivery cycle time, manufacturing cycle efficiency, MCE, and overall equipment effectiveness, OEE. So some key definitions and concepts. Throughput, which is manufacturing cycle time, is the elapsed time from when production is started until finished goods are shipped to customers. This includes process time, inspection time, move time, and queue time. Process time is the only value-added activity of those four that are mentioned. Delivery cycle time is the elapsed time from when a customer order is received until the finished goods are shipped. And then manufacturing cycle efficiency, or MCE, is computed by dividing the value-added time by the throughput time. The goal is to increase this measure. Any non-value-added time results in an MCE of less than 1.0. And an overall equipment efficiency, or OEE, measures the productivity of a piece of equipment in terms of three dimensions: utilization, efficiency, and quality. The equation for calculating OEE is as follows. So it would be the utilization rate multiplied by the efficiency rate multiplied by the quality rate, where the utilization rate is the actual runtime divided by the machine time that's available. The efficiency rate is the actual run rate over the ideal run rate. And quality rate is the defect-free output over the total output. So we'll go ahead and look at some examples. So the TMQ team at Norton Corp has recorded the following average time of production. So they have the wait time, inspection, process, move, and queue. What is the throughput time? And it would be 10.4 days. So it would be our process time plus our inspection time plus our move time plus our queue time. We add up that, and that's how we get that. What is our delivery cycle time, or DCT? So that would be our wait time plus our total for our throughput time. So 3 days plus 10.4 days is 13.4 days. And then what is our manufacturing cycle efficiency? And that is our value added time divided by our throughput time. So the value added time is our process time. So 0.2 days divided by 10.4 days is 1.9%. And then they have provided the following information for a machine whose limited capacity is prohibiting the company from producing and selling additional units. What is the OEE? And so we have our utilization rate, which is 0.7. So that would be 4,450 minutes, which is the actual runtime divided by the available time, which is 6,550 minutes. Our efficiency rate, which is 0.95, which is 3.8 units per minute divided by 4 units per minute. So 3.8 is the actual runtime per week this week, and then the how many units it should be producing. And then the quality rate, so 0.925, 1,600 units divided by 17,290 units. So OEE is 0.615. So now we're going to go ahead and look at how to actually construct and use a balanced scorecard. So there are different things here to look at. So companies, they're going to select strategy based strategy driven measures, and then they're going to link them together in a series of testable if then hypothesis statements. So they're trying to find out exactly what it is that the company is trying to accomplish. And so selecting scorecard measures. The 4 categories of a balanced scorecard are interrelated with each other. A company's employees need to continually learn and grow in order to improve internal business processes. Improving business processes is necessary to improve customer satisfaction, and improving customer satisfaction is necessary in order to improve financial results. So we're going to take a look at what Jaguar would do. So assume that Jaguar pursues a strategy as shown here. Examples of measures that Jaguar might select for their corresponding cause and effect linkage include if employees, okay. So if employee skills in installing options increases, then the number of options available should increase, and the time to install an option should decrease. So obviously, if they have more options per car, then and they're becoming more adept at doing that, then they can offer more options for the cars, and the time it takes to install the option should take less. If the number of options available increases and the time to install an option decreases, then customer surveys satisfaction with the options available. So again, if there are more options available, customers are going to be more highly satisfied. If the customer survey satisfaction with options available increases, then the number of cars sold should increase. So again, if customers are satisfied with the options and with the vehicles that are available, then more cars ought to be sold. If the time to install an option decreases and the customer survey satisfaction with customer with options available increases, then the contribution margin per car should increase. So they'd make more per car because it's going to take less time involved. If the number of cars sold and the contribution margin per car increase, then our profit should increase. So incentive compensation for employees. Okay. So let's do this. Okay. So again, the balanced scorecard, what it does is it lays out the theory of how the company can take concrete actions in order to attain their results, which in this case, what I read off would be financial. So if they offer more options, they get more adept at doing it. They're going to sell more cars. They're going to have a greater contribution margin. They're going to have greater profits. Jaguar's strategy seems plausible, but it should be regarded as only a theory because we don't know necessarily concretely that that's how everything's going to work out. One of the advantages of the balanced scorecard is that it continually tests the theories underlying management strategies. So incentive compensation for employees should be linked to balanced scorecard performance measures. However, this should only be done after the organization has been successfully managed with the scorecard for some time, perhaps a year or more. Managers must be confident that the measures are reliable, not easily manipulated, and understandable by those that are being evaluated by them. So we're kind of switching gears now. Another area that companies like to look for how they're doing what's called corporate social responsibility. And those are in areas of environmental, social, and governance. So ESG. And so how do we do that? And we can use our balanced scorecard in order to make sure we're meeting those targets as well. And companies often will set targets. They want to reduce water. They want to reduce waste. They want to do certain things socially, for philanthropic type endeavors. So those are all things, and we can use the balanced scorecard in order to evaluate for this. So companies are responsible for creating strategies that produce financial results that satisfy stockholders. However, they also have a corporate social responsibility to serve other stakeholders. including investors, customers, employees, suppliers, communities, and the environment and human rights advocates whose interests are tied to the company's performance. So we realize now not just that the company, their only goal is to make a profit, their goal really is to be a good corporate citizen. And so again, we can use this framework to assist us with that. So environmental, social, and governance, or ESG, are three criteria that are used by stakeholders for gauging the sustainability and the ethical impacts of a company. The concept of including these criteria help the organization to extend beyond legal compliance to include voluntary actions that satisfy stakeholder expectations. So again, some of this may not be required legally, but they're doing this because they do want it. They realize that their stakeholders demand it. Their customers, their stakeholders, their employees, they demand this. And again, these criteria, and so how we look at that. The ESG efforts should be accompanied by measures and reports that can be tracked by managers, and then those also then can be shared with external stakeholders. And they're going to talk here in a minute about the Global Reporting Initiative, or GRA. But just realize that a lot of businesses, they will report on this in their annual report. They'll publish a report, and then they will not just any annual report will not just speak to the financial aspects, it will also speak to these aspects as well. So the Global Reporting Initiative, or GRI, is a leading organization in the field of social and environmental performance measurement. It has created a widely adopted sustainability reporting framework that includes three universal standards and three sets of topic specific standards that are related to economic, environmental, and social performance. And so again, should always a company should always connect its scorecard measures using if-then hypothesis statements. Individual measures are of limited value unless they ultimately drive the attainment of a larger strategic goal. So we want to make sure that each little piece builds into the big overall arching picture. So the company's scorecard measures need to be linked to how its senior leaders and managers are evaluated and rewarded. Otherwise, the company's proclaimed commitment to fulfilling its ESG responsibilities may not lead to corresponding actions and results. And so what that is saying there is the fact that we want to make sure that these areas are areas that management is going to be ranked on, and what they're going to be evaluated on, and part of their bonus, their incentive plan is going to be tied to these things. Because otherwise, then it's likely that managers and leaders, they're not going to want to do this. So it has to be, they have to be being evaluated on it. They have to be their plan. So we see here an example of an ESG performance measures for each of the four different categories. So in learning and growth, internal business process, customer, and financial. And I'll kind of take a look at some of these. So under learning and growth for environmental, we might look at the number of LEED certified facilities. LEED is a certification that when you build a building, you can choose to go for this LEED certification. And a lot of your very large organizations, for example, UC Merced, all of their buildings all are LEED certified. Even places like Stanford Hospital, they built, I remember, in fact, they have a sticker on the window when you're over there at 500p at the near the cafeteria, that the building, because they built the ER and all of that is all brand new within, I think, since COVID. I think they were building it during the early part of COVID. They were building the ER and all of that other part to the hospital. And they went for LEED certification. And so that's a certification people will do because they want to be green. They want to show that they're green using sustainability in how buildings are designed. So having LEED certified facilities. The number of product engineers trained in eco-conscious product design. Again, we want our products to be designed to be eco-friendly. Social, we want to look at the number of workplace injuries, compensation for female employees, and how that aligns, keeping that in alignment with what the average compensation for a male is. So making sure that's right. Percentage of job applicants that are from underrepresented groups, and then average community service hours. And then under governance might be the number of female directors over the number of male directors, the number of board members that are receiving ESG training, the percentage of employees that strongly agree with the statement that my company has a supportive and inclusive corporate culture. So those all might be things under learning and growth that we might aspire to do. Under internal business process for environmental, we might look at the average water consumed per unit that we're producing, the percent of raw material inputs that have been recycled. A lot of companies now, they want to make a lot of their things out of recycled material. That's a selling point for them. That's something that consumers that we like to have things that are made of recycled material. So that's a good thing. The pounds of waste that were produced and looking to reduce that, the average carbon emissions per unit produced and looking to reduce that. The for under social for internal business process be the numbers of warranty claims over sales revenue, and then total cost of quality over sales. And then again, the number of diverse suppliers under governance, the number of suppliers that have third-party verification regarding child labor law compliance. Again, that's an area. Customers demand it, but also we want to do it to be a good corporate citizen. Under environmental, the percentage of customers that strongly agree with the statement that the company is committed to environmental stewardship. That would be a goal to have for under customer for environmental. Also, the percent of customers that are buying eco-conscious products. A lot of people are looking to do that. I know me and the missus yesterday, we went grocery shopping and we ended up going into Sprouts, and a lot of their products, particularly the cleaning aisle, a lot of their products are eco-conscious or recycled or somehow better than what you'd buy at Save Mart or something, or Walmart, in terms of that. Customers, that's something that a lot of customers like to use. Under social for customers is the percent of customers that strongly agree with the statement your company cares about the communities that it operates. Percentage of customers that strongly agree with the statement your company has superior commitment to product safety. Again, those are things that we can do to benefit customers and social. Governance for customers, the percentage of customers that agree your company provides me with information I need to assess its environmental and social performance. So again, that might be a goal that someone might have. The the percentage of customers that strongly agree with the statement your company conducts itself in an ethical manner. Again, so that's dealing with governance regarding customers. And again, that may be a goal that someone might have. Financials, the percentage of revenue from eco-conscious products, the average fuel cost per sales dollar, the capital expenditure on green products and processes. So again, that the business itself is buying green products and processes. And under social for financial would be the reduction of workers' compensation costs, because again, we want to make sure our employees are safe and that they're not putting in, having and lowering that workers' compensation cost helps the company to save money. And then the dollars invested in data security breach over the cost of a data security breach. Again, a data breach, that's a big factor for a business, and that, making sure that companies are doing everything they can to safeguard that. So that might be a goal. Under governance, it might be the total tax dollars saved via environmental tax incentives. Again, companies are looking to save money on their taxes, but also to be known for doing environmental stewardship. CEO compensation over the average environmental compensation. So employee compensation. So the difference between what the CEO gets and what the average employee gets, and making sure that that gap is not too wide. Looking at that and helping to reduce that gap so we can bring up our employees. And the percentage of investors that strongly agree with the statement, this company provides timely and transparent financial disclosures. So again, these are all what I've read you and what you see on this screen. These are all examples of some of the goals that you might see on a balanced scorecard for something in the ESG arena. But these are all very popular goals that businesses might have.